Good morning, everyone. It's 11 a.m. Central European Time. I'm Elias Rito, one of the three and technical and regulatory affairs manager of FECC. And I'd like to welcome you for our second series of the FECC Digital Day. This time with one of our digital members, CheMondis. And for today's webinar, they will be speaking more about the B2B marketplace for chemicals. Before diving into their presentation, just a very brief introduction of FECC for those who are joining us for the first time. So FECC is a European Association of chemical distributors, and we represent around about 1,700 companies, both via our national associations and direct members. We comprise of a diverse array of businesses, both from multinationals and SMEs. Distribution comprises a huge variety of activities. It ranges from warehousing to recycling, to formulation and blending, R&D, technical and regulatory advice, as well as logistics and packaging. In a nutshell, the chemical distribution industry in Europe stands for more than 30,000 highly qualified jobs, and it has a multiplier effect of ×4 if you also consider other players along the value chain, around about of 28 billion euros in annual sales. And it covers all chemical segments. So from food and feed to cosmetics to pharmaceutical ingredients to packaging, construction, automotives, among others. So it serves everyone, as mentioned, from startup to multinationals. Just some two housekeeping remarks. One is this event, along with all other FECC organized events, is under the competition compliance rules of FECC. So we will not be speaking about certain things such as transportation rates and prices. And if you are going to ask questions for those who is joining us for the first time, you may do so by writing in your questions and sending it on the panel. So if you see your panel there, there's a long rectangle where you can type in your questions specifically to our speakers. After their presentations, we will be moderating the Q&A that the speakers will be answering. And speaking about them, so I would like to formally introduce our speakers for today. So we have Alexander Cronenberg, Director Commercial of CheMondis, and Markus Ricci, the CEO of CheMondis. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing? Yes. How are you doing?
I think our audio was a little buggy. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly now. Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And without further ado, we give the floor to you.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you everyone on the call for being in this webinar. Very excited to be here. My name is Markus Ricci. I'm the CEO of CheMondis, and I'll just give a brief intro and then hand it off to my colleague Alex.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the commercial director at CheMondis, which essentially combines the sales, the marketing, and the chemical product management departments here at CheMondis in Cologne.
Terrific. Well, good morning again, everyone. As I said, I just want to say a few brief introductory words about us. We are CheMondis. We are the leading B2B online marketplace for chemicals, raw materials in Europe, possibly also beyond Europe. We are now a little bit more than a 4-year-old. Alex will give you some details about the number of users that we have to give you an idea of the order of magnitude of the marketplace. We're based, the team is based in Cologne in Germany, but we're a multilingual team. We serve essentially all global markets with a slight focus on the European market. Alex will probably also speak to that. We are particularly suited on the supplier side to distributors. We see a lot of distributors who are particularly successful with offering their products on CheMondis and finding buyers and doing deals and achieving sales. With that, I'd like to hand it off to Alex to give you a little bit more detail. I'm very much already looking forward to all of your questions after the end of our presentation.
All right, then I guess we can proceed to the next slide, and I will start with a fairly simple slide. CheMondis is where supply and demand meet. So we got you, the suppliers, on the one side, and your potentially future or some of your existing customers on the other side. For us as a marketplace, it is now our job to do matchmaking. Matchmaking, again, between you, suppliers of chemicals, and your future customers. What is important to understand is that we never own the goods or the products. We do software. Software that helps you to be much better visible and to sell more online. In a sense, we are revolutionizing trading in the chemical industry for you as a seller, and that is by enabling you to get in touch with new potential customers rather than waiting for the buyer to get to you. So you can play on CheMondis, you can play a much more active role in selling than you can in any other online channel. And this matchmaking, and that's on the next slide, we have been doing pretty successfully in the past. So to date, we have more than 80,000 products that are listed on our marketplace. So after sort of a ramp-up phase, especially the last year was a blast, and that was despite very limited product availabilities in the market. And we're really curious where 2023 will lead us as we are on a journey to probably doubling the number of listings to the end of the year. Even more interesting for you, the audience, is probably our development on the demand side, and that's on the next slide. So in terms of verified buyers, we grew more than 300% in the past 2 years, and we saw that those buyers have sent roughly 100,000 requests to products that are active and listed on CheMondis. Alone in the past year, in 2022, we saw that around 45,000 requests, that is leads, were sent through CheMondis. Now, going back to the left side, 12,000 verified buyers, what do we understand to be a verified buyer? So each of those 12,000 buyers went through, and each new registration is going through a dedicated verification process. So not everyone that is trying to register on CheMondis can also be part and active on CheMondis. So what we do is essentially a background check on new users that register. We check for a VAT number match, we check the websites, and then on top of that, we do sort of a validity check with a well-known creditworthiness service provider. So what we do, we pre-qualify the guys for you that will later send you requests for your product. So we want to do a good job in delivering you quality leads. That's essentially what's behind that. So jumping to the next slide, and Marcus already touched on that. And what kind of companies are to date the most successful ones on CheMondis? That is clearly small to medium-sized distribution companies. Distribution companies that are primarily active in Europe and that can offer a certain amount of commoditized products. Now, why is that those kinds of companies are specifically successful on CheMondis? Well, because we as CheMondis, we are opening their offerings up to, again, to around 12,000 verified buyers, and we're giving them an easy entry to an additional, potentially even international customer base. That's something that is pretty hard accessible, or was pretty hardly accessible for them before. We do also see a tendency that buyers, at least at this point in time of the digital journey of the chemical industry, rather request commodities on online marketplaces. And well, we offer those medium-sized or small to medium-sized distribution companies basically a platform on which they can exercise all of their sales and all of their marketing activities at ease, and that is with state-of-the-art technology. So distribution companies or any other companies can list their products, they can participate in tenders, they can communicate, they can negotiate on CheMondis, and soon they can also most likely be calling through CheMondis. So doing calls, doing video conferences through CheMondis. And all of that, and that's on the next slide, can perfectly fit into your multi-channel online approach. So CheMondis can and will exist next to your own digital offerings, for example, like your online web shop. However, the leads that you will be receiving through CheMondis are, and that is because of our verification approach of our buyers, all of those leads will be, in a sense, pre-qualified. That's a difference to those requests that may be coming through online shops, through lead feeders or other companies. So what we did before this meeting, we checked the online presences of a couple of FECC members, and it seems like the level of digital approach is pretty scattered among them. So we have some of the FECC members that have a perfectly set up online shop. Then we have some of the FECC members that have at least their product portfolios online, but we also found a couple that do not even have that, so that do not even have listed their products on their web shop, and we can do that for you. We bring all of your products online within a couple of days, and you have full sales functionality at place on CheMondis. And the next slide shows in which steps of the sales funnel precisely CheMondis supports you. So once more, listings. We do that for you. You tell us basically which products you want to bring online. And we do that. We get back to you within a couple of days, and it's done. You're ready. You're good to go. Your customers can start searching and finding your offers. Then next, obviously, your future customers will request your products. You have the chance then to prepare offers, to negotiate, and lastly, also to conduct an order on CheMondis, and all of that in one channel, on one platform. That is for the perfect buying experience of your customer. Now on the next couple of slides, I would like to show you how this translates into a couple of features that CheMondis offers. Namely, we brought 5. So number 1 is that you can choose what kind of leads you are receiving on CheMondis. Then we do offer state-of-the-art client interaction. We will quickly look into that. We will look into the online brand shop that you can create and set up on CheMondis. We'll look into search engine visibility, and lastly, into payment services. All of those features are included in our 12-month membership, which you can even test for free in a 2-month free trial. So let's jump right into it, and let's start with defining your desirable leads, and let's even go one more slide ahead. Exactly. So you have the freedom to define what kind of leads you want to receive on CheMondis. What you see here is the settings page of one of the products, and you see it already. You can choose from which countries you would like to receive leads. You can open this up globally, obviously, but you can also say, well, I just want to receive the leads from the DACH region, for example, or from Spain or the Netherlands, or wherever your distribution agreement may count. So that's another important aspect. You can put your distribution agreement with any of your producers, you can put precisely in here, because you can say, I'm only selling this product to specific countries. I can only offer those specific Incoterms, those packaging. If you have quantity limitations in your distribution contract, all of that can be mirrored here perfectly. Proceeding to the next feature. namely state-of-the-art client interaction. And that is that you get a very structured overview of all of the leads that are coming in. And on top of that, you can communicate with each of them at ease. And the next slide essentially shows you the dashboards. This is your request dashboard, and you see, based on the request that you have received for a specific product, you see all kinds of information, like who was the buyer that requested that product, the volume that was requested, the price per unit that you have given, if you have updated the price, the match rate based on the metrics that you put into the products that we saw on the previous slide, and also the status. So if you have put an offer behind it, if it's expired, if it's still in negotiating, all of that can be seen on your request dashboard. And on the next slides, we jump into one of those requests to see what does the communication look like behind each of those requests. So within each negotiation, you can chat. As you can see here, you can adjust the quantity, you can adjust the prices, you can share documents, exchange contact details, then agree on delivery days and payment methods. That's more on the right-hand side where you can see that. And at the end of the day, you can press conduct order and it's done. What we do then, we generate sort of a PDF that you can easily feed into your ERP or into your CRM system to mirror the order or the negotiation process that you have been conducting on CheMondis. Next would be your online brand shop on CheMondis, which gives you the chance to have in a couple of days all of your products listed in your own brand shop online, and you're good and ready to go. So what we do, we put all of your products in there. We can generate a corporate design for you. You see it in the example here on the right-hand side. All we need is essentially a banner, a logo, and like a color set, and it's done. You will receive a dedicated link from us. That link you can send to any of your customers. We do have a couple of companies that are present on CheMondis that put that link into their email footer, the email signature, and work with that as their perfectly fine upset online shop. Okay, then next, I would like to put short emphasis on search engine visibility, which essentially is that we are promoting your products. If you have an online brand shop, we're promoting your products. We are promoting your brand also on Google at the same time. So you will experience much more visibility and you will experience more traction on the product that you have listed on CheMondis, giving you more page views, giving you more customers, giving you again more visibility in the online world. And now, lastly, what we do is we do offer payment services to maximize securities for any order that is being fulfilled on CheMondis. Meaning it works in a way that you agree with your buyer, you agree on an order, then the buyer wires the money to a third party, and that third party basically holds the money until both sides have checkmarked and have agreed that the order was fulfilled based on the parameters that have been agreed upon before. Right, that was a short introduction of some of the features that CheMondis is offering. Once more, all of these features are included in the 12-month recurring membership, and you can test this membership in a 2-month free trial before signing up. 2 more slides, which are once more pointing at where our sweet spot at CheMondis is. What you see here are the top 5 requested substances that we see on CheMondis, which are namely urea, ethanol, sodium hydroxide, titanium dioxide, and isopropanol, which probably doesn't come by surprise. So if you get any of those products in your portfolio, you will get traction. You will get leads on CheMondis. And if you don't have any of those products, well, that's no big deal. What we're going to do then is we're going to do a portfolio analysis with you and give you a rough forecast on how successful you can be on CheMondis. So we're very, very transparent here. And based on the product portfolio that you do carry, we give you an idea and an estimation if you can be successful or how successful you can be on CheMondis. Right. Lastly, our customer heat map. I guess I'm almost going a bit too fast, but anyhow, our customer base has, as said before, a very strong European presence. So aside from the many very successful small and medium-sized distribution companies, we do also have a set of big corporates, a set of big distribution companies that have been part of CheMondis for a while. And on the right-hand side, what you see on the buyer side, again, being 12,000, roughly 12,000 in total, we have a very well-distributed customer base all across Europe. Obviously, with very strong regions in the big chemical market, UK, Germany, or the DACH region, Spain, Poland, Italy, Turkey is pretty strong, and France. Right, so that's it from our side. For now, thank you very much for joining in and listening, and we're very much looking forward to any questions now.
Thank you very much, Marcus, and thank you very much, Alexander, for a very comprehensive introduction of the CheMondis platform. I think it was also very informative. And well, I have 5 questions. Well, 5 different people who asked the same question, rather, and perhaps we can begin on that, which is, do you have any sort of tutorial or interactive video on how the dashboard works? Some sort of demo. So I think we have a couple of times, so I was wondering whether you would wish to show that now, or perhaps tell them where this possible demo could be seen.
I think to do it now would be not ideal. Anyhow, please get in touch. Happy to do a personal one-on-one demo of the dashboard with each and every one of them. Absolutely no issue. And give them a short introduction about the marketplace, about the analytics, the data you can extract once you've joined. So be invited. I think my contact details will be shared after this. Happy to do that.
Indeed, yeah. That is our process. We actually run every single, both supplier and buyer, through a dedicated onboarding process with an account manager on our side, so that we can also answer specific questions, because obviously a supplier with one given product portfolio may have questions that differ from another one. So we run every single, both supplier and buyer company that wishes to be verified on the marketplace through an onboarding process.
Okay, that's good to know. So I'll fire in the questions that we have here. We have a couple. The first one, actually, I can answer myself. Will the presentation be available? So yes, it will be available. And correct me if I'm wrong, what you presented now is the same version that we can share to our participants afterwards. So yes, after this webinar, we'll be sharing the PDF version, and the recording will be available in due time. The next question, does verification of the seller mean that you perform a KYC process?
It is not a due diligence process and a KYC process. It is the best we can do. So essentially what we do is we check the website. We do a VAT match with them. We give them at least 2 calls before we verify them and before they can interact on the marketplace. And then again, we're working with a pretty reliable credit check service company and do some sort of background check on them before we tick the verified button, and only then buyers and suppliers equally are able to interact on the marketplace.
Okay, so for that person who asked that, if you want more information, you can contact
Yes.
Alexander and Marcus, or while I am firing in the other questions, you can perhaps also ask another follow-up. The next question, can you please elaborate or define more what you mean by leads by industry? Can you define leads by industry? Then
I think maybe that, I mean, essentially what you can do as a supplier on CheMondis is list all of your products. Ideally, those products that are an ideal fit with the demand on a marketplace, which is why Alexander highlighted sort of just as a sort of a taste, as a teaser, our current top 5 requested substances. We advise you then on the best possible fit with the products that you as a supplier can bring and the demand that we have on the marketplace. We give you a forecast, at least a good guesstimation of how successful you can be with your product portfolio. And then you will receive requests based on the actual demand that we have on the marketplace at any given time. And then you can either take those requests and continue the transaction on CheMondis. We are a fully transactional marketplace, but you don't have to necessarily complete the transaction on CheMondis. You can also take the request, or you use the word lead, and transact outside. We have no preference for that. We understand that for some suppliers and buyers, it might be easier to do this outside of CheMondis, but the option exists to also transact on the marketplace, at which point you can then also draw the benefit from, for example, our payment service from the escrow functionality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's quite elaborate enough, but for this person and all those who ask questions and will be asking questions, if you have a specific question, you can also get in contact directly with Marcus and Alexander. Yeah. And then a next question, is there a way to create connectivity between requests received in CheMondis and our own CRM?
Not exactly. I mean, there is CheMondis is sort of a, I mean, like any online marketplace that some of you may be familiar with as a consumer, as an internet consumer, we have our own system, and there is no direct sort of API hookup with your own ERP systems. So there is, if you transact through fully on the marketplace, there's probably some minimal amount of manual re-input of a deal done on CheMondis in your own ERP systems. So we don't have that functionality yet. We may move in that direction, but I guess it's sort of, the question builds on my previous answer. If, for example, in any negotiation that a supplier and a buyer have begun, have initiated on CheMondis, if they should determine that it's easier to not conclude the transaction on CheMondis, but to do it in their own systems, that's also definitely possible. If you do transact through on the marketplace on CheMondis, there's probably some amount of manual entering of that order in your own system that is required.
Okay, and I would assume that this also depends from CRM to CRM. Some CRMs
Sure.
might have compatibility. Yeah, okay. So yeah, very informative. The next question, do you measure the carbon footprint of the operations taking place to your platform? And if so, how?
We do not. It's definitely something that we have in the cooker. We do not do that. We are very much like other online marketplaces that you may be familiar with in the consumer, whether it's Amazon Marketplace or eBay or Alibaba. We are basically not the ones who have sufficient insight into the carbon footprint of the products that are being sold. We're basically just the marketplace, but we have plans to make the carbon footprint of our suppliers and buyers visible on CheMondis, because it's not so much us that are producing the carbon footprint as the participants in the marketplace, if that answers the question.
Okay, yeah, so thank you, Marcus. And next question, how many users can the CheMondis dashboard accommodate at the same time? Is this one person per license? How about if we are a multi-country team? So those are one person with 3 questions.
Totally valid. And the answer is that's totally up to you. Based on your preference and also based on your company setup, you can either choose to have one account, and one account can have an unlimited amount of users in it. But we do also have customers that would like to have a decentralized approach, so that have the headquarter registered as one account, and then have their subsidiaries in Spain, in Poland, or the DACH region as separate accounts, and then do have only those users in this account that are working for that country representation.
Okay.
Maybe one follow-on comment to that question, which might be a fit. It's a slightly different twist on the question, but as Alex was explaining, it's essentially up to the supplier and their either centralized or decentralized sales structure. One thing to note when you have a centralized sales organization, and you basically would like to have different people in your organization work one account on CheMondis, a certain amount of dedication by the supplier is required. So as with any online marketplace, success on the marketplace depends a little bit on your degree of commitment. So to be specific, if requests are coming in, you should respond to them relatively quickly, otherwise they die. And if you have multiple users per account, that can be complicated. It can also make it easier, depends on how you manage the account. But I just thought it might be informative and interesting to note that how a supplier sets themselves up really very much depends on their sales organization internationally. But whoever is the account person should check the dashboard pretty much every day.
Okay, yeah, very informative, Marcus, thank you. Next question, and we have quite a flurry of them, so it's yeah, but we still have time. So how do you integrate with common XRM tools?
Not quite sure if I got the question right.
Yeah, well, how do you integrate with common XRM tools? So perhaps let's resume that question later. So for that question,
I think we roughly understand what the question is. We don't have any API integrations with other tools at the moment, right? So I think one answer to that is using CheMondis does require, both as you list products and as you negotiate and as you conclude deals, a certain amount of online manual effort. That is the reality. You cannot just, we don't have a functionality where you have a plug and there's a socket and you just connect. That doesn't work. A human has to operate as the supplier and on the buyer side on CheMondis. Very, very similar to, sorry to be overusing this analogy, how you might use other online marketplaces that you know in the consumer space.
Okay, so and then the next question, which is quite a long one, so I am going to say it once, and please let me know if it's too long. Apart from the PDF file that can be imported in a ERP CRM system, is it possible to integrate with CheMondis to automate the orders with our ERP system, so we do not need to manually manage the same order in multiple systems? Hopefully that was clear.
Yeah, sorry? No, it's not. We don't have that functionality yet. It's something that's asked a lot. It's also possibly the reason why a lot of our customers tend not to transact through on the marketplace, but they only initiate the deal and then they conclude it offline. And that's a very valid reason. Others do transact through, but we do not have an automated process for this at the moment. So some manual re-entry of concluded deals on the marketplace is required.
Okay, and is that perhaps something on the pipeline in the coming versions?
It's something we're considering, but we don't have a sort of any sort of confirmed go live dates for any of that yet.
Okay. Next question. Do I understand it that the CheMondis platform is quite Europe-centric? Do you have activities in other regions outside Europe?
Absolutely, we do. I mean, we don't have any offices, but as an, any online marketplace, by definition, online is a global medium. Of course, we have Indian buyers. Of course, we have South American suppliers. It just happens that the way we've grown organically, and given that we're based in Germany, and you know how large the chemicals industry in Germany is, our core is Europe, but not just the EU, but all of Europe. But yes, we definitely have global customers.
Okay. And then the next, also a little bit geography question. Can the search be limited on a country/geographical area? Example, a company only wants to sell in Spain or in the UK.
Absolutely. This is what I was trying to phrase with the definition on you can choose which leads you are receiving. So you can define for each of the products that you're listing. You can do it globally on a company level for all of your products, but you can also go into each and every product individually to say, I only want to offer this product to my Spanish customers, meaning when the buyer searches for that product and uses the filters, I am located in Spain, I want to receive, or I only want to request products that can be shipped to Spain, then this product will show up. Vice versa, if I'm, let's say, a German-based buyer and I would be searching for that product, I would not see the offering of that specific supplier, because he, again, he has put into the product details that he would like to receive requests for the Spanish market, for example. Yes, that is possible, and that's a crucial part of the marketplace, especially when it comes to distribution companies, because we want to enable them to mirror the distribution agreements.
Okay, so thank you, Alexander. Next question, what are your strongest customer markets? For example, is it plastics, coatings, etc.?
That's a bit historically based, because we made in the beginning, we had a very strong focus on paints and coatings. So if you're looking for a specific industry, paints and coatings is pretty strong, plastics is pretty strong, cosmetics is getting stronger and stronger. Bottom line, any sort of commodity is very strong at CheMondis. And that's a bit industry independent, obviously.
Yeah. And then the next question, what is the ratio more or less between distributors and producers as suppliers on CheMondis?
Good question. 3/4, 1/4, but depends a little bit, fluctuates a little bit, but we see a majority of the supplier companies that are successful are distributors. Maybe 2/3, again, it's definitely significantly more than 50%.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Next question, a little bit longer, but the top 5 ranked products tend more towards commodity chemicals. How is CheMondis doing with true specialty chemicals, which require typically more explanation and selection advice?
I think the answer to the question is already in the question. Why are we particularly strong in commodities? Well, we are, by design, an online marketplace that offers the possibility to transact. Now, when you want to display on in any online web shop or in any online marketplace products that are transactable without excessive explanatory need, you come to commodities. Think about things like data fields, grade, purity, and so on. A specialty will always require a lot of free text to explain what it actually is. Those types of products, at least in the current state of the industry, are not particularly suited to online transactions, because the entire selling process is significantly more consultative, if that makes any sense. A commodity needs far less explanation, so it's more transactable. And that, in the way that the person asked the question lies some of the answer. Are we thinking that the state of digitization in the chemicals industry will eventually move more towards specialties? Quite possibly, quite possibly. The current state of affairs is that commodities make up the lion's share of the sorts of products that are presentable in an understandable fashion online, which is why we have a core strength in them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you for clarifying, Marcus. A next question. Well, is CheMondis hiring? If so, which profiles are you looking for? Close in parenthesis, political / technical, etc.
Yeah, we are always hiring. We're very lucky to have a thriving startup business. It's still a startup, and we have very committed investors in difficult market situations. And we're hiring basically in two fronts: and Alexander's team, which is essentially sales, business development, marketing, as well as in software engineering, which is a whole different world, which is sort of typical Silicon Valley type software engineers. Because ultimately what we do is we write and market online marketplace software for users such as your members in the FECC to use. So yes, we're hiring. And you can find all of our job postings on our website.
Okay, so to that person, check it out. And then next, and this sounds like an interview question actually. What is the vision of CheMondis on a mid / long-term perspective? What are you aiming for in the next 5 years? So it really sounds like a job interview.
Yes. It sounds, I hope this doesn't sound arrogant. Before I answer that question specifically, again, I'm using an analogy from the consumer internet arena, and I think probably all of our members in the audience have some familiarity with online marketplaces. Those are extremely profitable and highly compelling businesses. We want to be that in the chemicals industry. We want to be, in 5 years' time, something like an Amazon marketplace or an eBay or whatever analogy you use in the chemical space. We think that we are in a very good position to attain that goal, but it's probably going to take another 5 years to get there, and that's why it's so exciting to be able to present to all the supplier members that you have in your federation, because they happen to be a very good fit with what we can deliver in terms of value. But we want to be the leading B2B online marketplace for chemicals.
Okay, thank you. Next question. In which country is your server based? Is it in the EU?
It's not. I don't actually exactly know, but all our data is stored on AWS, Amazon Web Services.
It's stored on AWS in Frankfurt. So yes, it is stored in the European Union.
Okay. And then, well, perhaps a related question to that. How secure is the platform? What are your corrective measures in terms of cybersecurity threats?
I think we abide by any of the best practices that exist for online marketplaces. We're not certified by anybody yet. We may move in that direction, but suffice it to say, we've never had a single case of any cybersecurity issues.
Okay, thank you. In which languages is CheMondis available?
Essentially, we can toggle on any language that you wish for. We do have a standard set. Obviously, it's available in English. It's available in German, yeah, we can toggle it on for any language that is demanded. Is there a specific language that is being asked for in this question?
No, it was an open-ended one. So yeah, well, for the person who asked that, yeah, feel free to bilaterally discuss. I mean, perhaps Esperanto or then the next question, does CheMondis consider to offer a shop-in-shop concept? For example, a supplier is managing a flagship store on CheMondis, but requests are handled via a distribution partner connected with the flagship store.
If I understand the question correctly, we already have that. So we allow for tandems. We do have a very prominent, or we have several very prominent examples, as a matter of fact, where we have the principal as being the producing company and the distribution company. They're being equally on CheMondis. They kind of share the product portfolio, as a matter of fact. So they mirror each other's product portfolio for a specific business unit. And then based on the parameters of the request is then either sent to the principal or it is sent to the distribution company. So let's say the distribution agreement has geographic limitations, or it has quantity limitations. For a request, let's say lower than 1,000 kilos, and this request will be going straight to the distribution companies. For requests of a higher volume, then this request will go to the principal. So if I understood the question correctly, that is exactly what we're doing. We want to invite both together, the principal and the distribution companies, to CheMondis, because they can both benefit. Obviously, distribution company obviously taking advantage of the brand, the marketing power of the principal.
Okay, that's good information. And then the next one, and well, I'm going to ask these questions and also perhaps some housekeeping remarks before we proceed with the Q&A, is what is the USP of CheMondis? And I think it would be also interesting to answer the question highlighting the strengths of CheMondis and focusing on that. Because here we are abiding by competition compliance rules, so it would be very nice if we focus on CheMondis itself and the platform. So what is the USP of CheMondis?
If you are already doing anything online, or if you're not, you should consider finding more business on CheMondis. We are today the largest online marketplace for chemicals in Europe. That position will strengthen over time. Join the party early, learn it, and you have an opportunity to grow, in particular if you're a small, medium-sized enterprise. Our USP is, if you're considering or are doing online sales, you should try CheMondis.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. Wow, it keeps coming. So the next question, it's also a little bit on the longer side. Middle and big companies are looking more and more for no-touch orders, communication between systems without manual effort. Even smaller companies are starting to ask this kind of solution. What is your answer or future solution for this problem?
I think we touched on that. We don't have that right now. When we said initially that our sweet spot, or rather the sort of customer, the sort of supplier that is currently particularly successful, are more small, medium-sized companies, the answer is the big boys, right? They have huge sales organizations. They have established big systems. And for them, the usage of CheMondis may not make sense because it would mean excessive extra effort in administering a deal. Might we implement that at some point in the future? Yes, we might. If we see a sufficiently large customer base that is asking for that, we might do that. But for now, we are sticking with our approach, which sort of ties also in with another earlier question. I understand that seamlessness and effortlessness is something to aspire towards. Participating in marketplaces does require an effort from the trading parties. That's just a fact. And it's also a fact on CheMondis, but we may eventually move towards some sort of ERP integration on either end. We don't have it yet.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. Well, just in time, I'm going to take the last three questions, which I think more or less rounds them up. The next one is, how do you rate how suppliers engage with CheMondis leads?
How do we rate that?
Yeah. Do you rate them to begin with?
Oh, do I rate them? Or do we have a rating system or something like that?
Yeah.
Good question. I'm guessing that user uses online marketplaces in the consumer space because that tends to be a big feature. We don't have that yet, but we're very seriously considering it because obviously it's a key feature in most online marketplaces in the consumer space because there is a certain amount of anonymity, of course, if you go to an online marketplace. The reason why we don't have it yet is we have that very strict verification process where all both buyers and suppliers on the marketplace are verified by us to some degree. So, and they're mentioned with their, VAT numbers, and you can click through to the websites and so on. But we may move in that direction, but we don't have it yet.
Okay. Next question, is CheMondis DAC7 registered?
We're not.
No.
Okay. Yeah. And last question that I will be asking, and yeah, I hope it was quite a flurry of them. Is CheMondis planning on opening any offices soon aside from the current ones already existing?
Not in 2023, but we are a highly international team here in Cologne with 17 languages. We may as well, but we don't have any plans right now.
Okay. Yeah. So I think we've learned quite a lot about CheMondis. So a lot of questions, but we are, I think, going to take it from there. Marcus, Alexander, thank you for being ready to answer all those questions with a lot of information and spontaneity. But yeah, now we've addressed those questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. The slides, because I received that in 6 different questions, the slides will be available in PDF after this webinar. But for now, I thank you, well, first and foremost, Alexander and Marcus, for joining us for our digital day. I thank you, those who attended the webinar and participated very proactively. I thank my colleague, Diana, for helping behind the scenes. And we'll see you around. So stay tuned for the next activities that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Elias.
Bye.